Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the November 11th, 2020 edition of Pro Wrestling Throwdown. I'm Caleb Black, Luke the Big Dog Williams, the mighty Max Fury, and it is time for the continuation of our what-if scenario, including WCW. We posed a question a couple of weeks ago. What would have happened if WCW would have got its secular secondary TV deal with the ownership underneath Eric Bischoff, how it would have affected them, how they would have survived, what would have happened, to TNA, etc., and I promised that we would expand that conversation regarding what would have happened with the original plan for WCW if it was given its WCW Saturday Night Show underneath the tutelage of Vince McMahon. And then we never had that discussion.
Right.
So we are catching up today. It's time to talk about WCW Saturday Night. What if, Luke, what if WCW would have got its Saturday Night Show?
Under Vince McMahon? I know that when you look back at everything that had been said around that time, that Monday Night Raw was going to cease to be.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't going to be Monday Night Raw anymore. It was going to be Saturday night's WCW show against WWE SmackDown. I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know if it would have survived.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. And honestly, it's really simple. WCW would have became what ECW became under Vince McMahon. It wouldn't have had its own standalone. No. I mean, at first it would.
Yeah.
But after time, it would have been Monday Night Raw with a different name.
Yeah, it would have become just a produced buffer for the WWF, and obviously they would have tried. You still have to take into consideration that a lot of their top stars wouldn't be coming over for several years.
Two or three
at least. They would have had Booker T, who could have spearheaded the show, and you would have got some dream match scenarios out of it. We would have never wasted time on the Invasion. So actually, they could have taken some time and really built this Saturday Night Show up with WCW and ECW stars.
The only problem with that is, though, like we were saying, is you didn't have Goldberg.
You didn't have Kevin Nash.
You didn't have the NWO. You didn't have Diamond Dallas Page right off the hammer. I mean, yes, you could have built a different roster.
Yeah.
Yes, Booker T could have been, at the time, up top. But the thing that made WCW different from WWE is that it didn't look the same.
Yeah.
It underneath Vince McMahon, the camera angles, everything would have had to have been done by the people who did WCW in the first place.
Yeah.
Or it would have just felt like another WWF show.
Yeah. They would have ended up putting the WCW title on Buff Bagwell.
And here's the deal. Booker T at that time could not have carried that incarnation of WCW the way that he did when it was Nitro.
Right.
Because when it was Nitro, look at all the how do I put this? Look at all the secondhand men that built Booker T to be that champion.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon would have only took the people he wanted to,
right.
Which means you wouldn't have got your Jeff Jarrett's, you wouldn't have got Scott Steiner, you wouldn't have got the this guy, because Vince McMahon only wanted the crew that he wanted.
Yeah.
In other words, you would have got WCW Light.
Right. It would have been detrimental to the cruiserweights.
Yeah.
Because they would have had such a confinement on their matches, and the thing about WCW that set them apart with the cruiserweights was that those matches were wild. They were engaging, they were entertaining, and they were unexpected, regardless of who they were putting over. Really, realistically, if you go back to the wins and loss margin of cruiserweights, none of that shit ever mattered.
No. Because
they were literally put on the show just to get people to watch.
They were to pop the crowd.
And they served their purpose very well.
There's a video on Facebook. I'm sure it can be found anywhere, of just clippets from Rey Mysterio and Silver King.
Yeah.
And the crowd reaction to some of the shit. Just Silver King and Ray Jr.
Yeah. Just doing...
are on their feet. They're flipping out. It's amazing. Why? Because people can say what they want about the NWO, but I tuned in to WCW for the
every single Monday night.
Because it was, what are they going to do next?
Yeah. And even then, with the expansion of Thunder, the Cruiserweights basically ran Thunder. And
them and the NWO guys that couldn't get screen time on
TV. But Booker T would, become their heading main event player. No, the Cruiserweights were fundamental to WCW's success, and they would not have been able to recapture that in the WWE.
No.
And if you think today, too, how today's wrestling style is, it's all very flippy. It's all very cruiserweight-esque. So, WCW, let's pretend for a minute they continue having their WCW Saturday Night Show up to today. There is no original spirit there. There is no. It's just a copy recreation of another WWE overproduced show.
It would have been WCWWE. It's just like ECW was.
Yeah.
It would have been only in name. It would have only been name. WCW would only have been a name. It wouldn't have been the showcase. It wouldn't have been the talent roster. It wouldn't have been the show production. It would have been Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Labeling something WCW because he owned the letters.
Yeah. And the idea, too, that, when it comes to... I've lost my train of thought. I just had a really good one. Oh, the idea that they were going to liquidate Monday night. The other part about WCW, the competition with WWF, was that you had to choose.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a VCR, if you didn't have more than one TV in the house, you had to pick. And that was like... It was fundamental in getting people to make those choices. That, on Monday nights, part of the spirit there is that, all right, we're watching Raw tonight or we're watching Nitro. You can't watch both at the same time.
Or you're like me, I would watch the first hour of Nitro.
And then watch the second hour of Raw and then flip back and forth. Yeah. Yeah, I would do that all the time. I remember the night that WCW went out of business when they did the tandem broadcast. Yeah. My cousin Derek was watching Raw in the living room, and I was watching Nitro in my bedroom. And when we saw the dual camera angle, I was like, "What? What's going on? It's crazy."
And see, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
WCW, when it comes to WCW and WWE, with the rivalry and everything,
yeah,
is once you knew that Vince McMahon owned WCW, there was no war.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how Raw and SmackDown is now. That's exactly how it would have been then, except with not as great of a roster.
Right. The only way it could have been better, and I firmly believe this, is if they would have had Vince running creative, if they'd have kept Monday Night Raw, and they'd have kept their Thursday Night SmackDown slot, and they'd have had that Saturday night show. Vince controls the creative for Raw, Bischoff still controls creative for that Saturday night show, and then you give the Thursday night show to Paul Heyman. You divide the talent equally and accordingly. You allow for your draft scenario. That's how you would have got viewers, and that's how.
But the only problem with that is Vince would have never gave up.
And that's where the rub is because, man, could you imagine 3 separate shows under the WWF with 3 separate creative minds that were really responsible for the wrestling boom of the 90s, all individually getting to say, "Hey, I get to use these guys, and I get to write my own 2-hour platform."
Yeah,
hell yeah. Hell yes. Guys, that's really all there is to say. We wanted to make sure we continue this video because we promised it to you. What do you think about the WCW possibility of having had a Saturday night show? Let us know in the email. Let us know via email at prowrestlingthrowdown@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/prowrestlingthrowdown. Follow us on Twitter at prowrestlingtd. Like and subscribe here. Leave us comments, but like and subscribe. And find us on Twitch because we're going to start live streaming every Saturday. For you to tune in with us live, you get to see all the backstage antics, all the cutting up, all the nonsense. Stay tuned for Fantasy Booking. Fantasy Booking, where we fantasy book WrestleMania, coming up here in just a few minutes.